Welcome back everybody to another episode of Direct Comparison. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the recently released Red Dead Redemption 2, and see how it stacks up visually to Ubisoft's recently released Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, before we get started, it's important to clarify that these two games are vastly different from each other, both in terms of gameplay style and the time period. But at the same time, there's still a lot of similarities between the two, and considering they're both attempting a realistic artistic approach to their graphical design, it'll be interesting to see which team of developers managed to pull off certain effects better. For the sake of showcasing these two titles at their absolute very best visual presentation, Red Dead Redemption 2 will be played on the Xbox One X at a native 4K resolution, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey will be run on the PC platform, running at a native 4K. In the future, I'd like to compare both these titles running on the PC platform, but we'll have to wait to see if Red Dead Redemption 2 ever makes the jump to PC. Alright, so to start off, I wanted to first talk about the character models. The character models in AC Odyssey do seem to be sharper and cleaner than the characters in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, but at the same time, the actual design of the characters in general look much more realistic in Red Dead. Clothing design, for example, is more meticulous in Red Dead, with some excellent attention to detail. This is a common trend that you'll continue to see as we look at other things like various world props and, of course, the characters' horses. The horses are what really set Red Dead apart from AC Odyssey. The horses in Ubisoft's Greek-themed adventure feel like they're made of plastic, with stiff animations, lifeless eyes, and less detail. But Red Dead's horses look much better, with visible muscle tendons, realistic skin flexibility, and a ton of minor details like around the eyes. These details are even more apparent when the horses are in motion, with visible muscles stretching and a much smoother overall sprint animation. AC Odyssey doesn't necessarily look bad, it actually looks pretty decent when compared to other games that feature horses like this, but the animations are lackluster and almost look like the legs are attached to a single pivot point. Moving on, we have texture designs. Here, we see that AC Odyssey does have a bit of an advantage, likely because of the increased power of the PC platform. Textures on the roads and in the grassy fields feature high-resolution texture designs, and are significantly more detailed than the generally blurry textures in Red Dead 2. It's also interesting to see the difference in the actual environment color design between the two games. Ancient Greece appears to be a much drier environment according to AC Odyssey, with dried out grass everywhere you go and more worn down roads. Red Dead 2, however, has a much warmer tone, with lush green fields and muddy roads. Next up, we need to talk about lighting. This is a tough one to compare because both games seem to feature some phenomenal lighting effects. From beautiful global illumination, a moderate use of bloom, and impressive god rays. But I think I have to give it to Red Dead 2 for a bit of a more realistic approach to its lighting. AC Odyssey's god ray effects seem to be a bit excessive, often blinding in some circumstances. It looks impressive, and from an artistic direction, it's a beautiful effect. But if we're going based on what produces the most realistic image, Red Dead seems to play it safer, only using these exaggerated god ray effects when there's a reason for them, like a low-hanging fog after a heavy storm, for example. Nighttime scenes in Red Dead also feature much more realistic colors and shadowing than in Odyssey. Odyssey almost looks like there was a dark filter put over the camera to simulate nighttime, whereas Red Dead is realistically pitch black in areas blocked by the moonlight, giving a much more authentic appearance. Shadow quality, on the other hand, looks a little bit better in Assassin's Creed, and again, this is likely due to the higher resolution shadows available on the PC platform. Moving on, we have a few special effects. First, we have fire effects, which this absolutely looks much better in Red Dead. Odyssey has some incredibly weak looking fire effects, and I'm not really sure why. They look much better in Origins, and it's a real shame to see this downgrade in quality. Redemption's fire gives off a beautiful red glow late at night, and features high resolution effects for the flame itself. Water effects, however, look substantially better in Odyssey, likely due in part to the heavy emphasis on water in a lot of Odyssey's gameplay. Both games feature reactive water effects, but AC Odyssey feels more fluid and seems to reflect light more realistically. There's also some really cool wave simulation effects on the shorelines in AC that aren't even attempted in Red Dead, though this is understandable considering the types of bodies of water we're dealing with here. Both games also feature some phenomenal work when it comes to the weather simulation. Unlike past video games, both titles feature a realistic cloud movement, with storm clouds slowly blocking out the sun and realistically beginning to rain as they pass over the player. It's difficult to say which game does this better, because of how random the storms are in both games, but I do like how much darker the environment gets in Red Dead, producing a more realistic storm presence. Just like the nighttime scenes, Odyssey's storm effect lighting seems to be too bright, and doesn't really sell the illusion as well. And finally, we're going to try and listen to some sound comparisons. Which game do you think has the better overall sound design? And that just about wraps up this episode of Direct Comparison. This one had some surprising results. Going into this, I had a gut feeling that Red Dead 2 would look better in every way, but AC Odyssey does seem to feature a few notable advantages, some of which can be attributed to the difference between consoles and PC, but some, like the water simulation design, can definitely be attributed to the game design itself. At the end of the day, both of these games are absolutely gorgeous and offer two very different experiences, with Red Dead being more of a huge, authentic Wild West simulator, and Odyssey being a massive ancient Greek role-playing adventure. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Direct Comparison. Which game do you think looks better overall? Let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this posted every week.